Hey, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Buffalo, New York. We're going to be doing some exploring around here today, and I apparently came right when the Taste of Buffalo festival was getting set up. And this amazing Art Deco building behind me is City Hall. Interestingly enough, that actually was started 1 month before the start of the crash of Wall Street happened in 1929. And so Buffalo has a really interesting history. It was founded in the early 1800s and saw pretty significant economic growth over the next century and a half until it started going into a state of economic decline in the 1950s, along with a lot of the other towns and cities in the US that were part of the Rust Belt. And so as the factories started closing up, obviously that had a major impact on the economy in general in Buffalo. And so you have towns and cities like Buffalo, Detroit, Pittsburgh, that all sort of hit this economic collapse state. And that left a lot of the areas abandoned, a lot of factories abandoned, and as a result, a lot of housing it's abandoned. Buffalo seems, in current state in 2023, is trying really hard to pivot and revitalize itself and sort of get new energy and momentum back into its economy. But it still has a lot of reminders of its post-industrial poor economic state. Before we get into kind of the more abandoned stuff, I wanted to show you an example of a good neighborhood and a really cool location that exists here, just to show the compare and contrast. So let's go check that out really quick and see what we can find. All right, here we go. So about 10 to 15 minutes northeast of downtown, in this nice, quiet, really seems like relatively upscale neighborhood of Parkside, right next to the Buffalo Zoo, we have this, which is the Darwin D. Martin House. It was actually constructed by Lloyd Wright. And I just randomly came across this place. I had no idea Lloyd Wright had anything up in this area. Not knowing a ton about him or any of that, it seems a little surprising. I think it's more surprising that it's just inside this, I mean, not really noteworthy, just kind of normal looking neighborhood. It was built from 1903 to 1905, and I'm not going to pretend to know enough about architecture to be able to speak to it. You can apparently do tours of the place. My wife and I have been to Falling Water outside of Pittsburgh, so I know enough about Lloyd Wright to be dangerous, but not enough to be able to speak to it much else. But it just, I don't know, it really it caught me off guard that there's a Lloyd Wright house just in the middle of this random residential neighborhood. Apparently what makes this interesting is in this design, it's almost it's a complex. So it's not just one house. We can see here the Barton House. I feel like, and maybe it's just me, but the vibe or feel of Buffalo when people talk about it is one of dying buildings and economic decay and urban decay. And I wanted to show that there's a bunch of bees in here. Oh, those bees are very loud. I don't know if the mic picks that up. But anyway, Before we get into kind of the urban decay focus of this video, I wanted to take a minute and show a really insanely cool Lloyd Wright complex. Now that we've done that, let's go look at some urban decay with a giant abandoned factory. Just 10 minutes away from that Lloyd Wright house in that really nice neighborhood sits this. It's a giant abandoned, you can see at the top, Wonder Bread factory. So this actually opened in 2000. It opened in 1923 and was open for almost 90 years. 91 years, I guess. It closed in 2004, and so it's just been sitting abandoned here for 19 years now. So I've seen a couple signs that say that this place has asbestos in it, so I'm not going to mess with even trying to peek my head in, I don't think. But I at least wanted to just kind of capture the outside of it. Can you imagine how amazing this neighborhood would have smelled when this place was active? For 90 years, the whole neighborhood would have just smelled like delicious bread, arguably 24 hours a day. But you can see, so that right behind it, where are we at here? That right behind it is actually, that is still an active factory. And this over here looks kind of half abandoned, but there are people walking in there, so I think that's probably still active. But let's at least take a walk around the perimeter here a little bit. I mean, even if a lot of these places are not totally abandoned, they're definitely in a state, in a less than ideal state. It's amazing, kind of like Baltimore. You can just turn a corner and suddenly you go from a really nice place to this. Guardhouse. Do you think it's a real working camera up there? Looks new enough. And there are these factories, abandoned factories, all over the place here. This, I think, was just arguably, from what I found, the coolest. And so I wanted to come and document that. And I think that, so I think that's a school, and I actually think that's an active school. Which, I mean, you have to work with what you have economically, right? But that seems not ideal to have a school next to this place, which I'm guessing you can probably see all the graffiti and obviously broken out windows. You can hear that factory going right there. I'll have to look up after the fact what that is and put it maybe down below here. It's interesting. You just a direct, I mean, not at all guarded path right up to the train tracks here. So I bet you probably when the Wonder Bread factory was active, I wonder if trains came by here. I wonder if they did loads onto to trains for shipping around there. And so this is right on the edge of what I found is, I mean, arguably, so we'll call it one of the worst neighborhoods in Buffalo. A couple of lists I saw named the Emerson neighborhood as one of the most dangerous, one of the most violent neighborhoods in Buffalo, which is just right down over here. Let's go check out that neighborhood, do a quick drive through there, and then I have one final stop that I've been saving for last to check out that I'm excited to share with you guys. So I'll see you in a bit. I don't know if this is on so many lists because it's just empty, so like the population is low, so like any crime that here in terms of a statistic like per capita whatever, it gets exaggerated or what exactly. But I mean, like, this isn't, like I said, it's not great, but it's not awful either. At least awful in the kind of Dexter Linwood area of Detroit that I was half expecting. This is what I really find interesting about this city. It's the backdrop of all the really cool architecture. These giant, oh, there's a So I have no idea what this place is over here, but now I'm gonna go and check it out really quick. I was just kind of driving around. What is this? Buffalo Central Terminal. What the heck is this? How did this not cross my radar? So I was just driving around the neighborhoods kind of looking at stuff and just came across this. I think that sign said it's a central terminal. I'm gonna go and look at this really quick. I might go bother this guy for a second also. This looks insanely cool. I just randomly came across this place. I have no idea what this is. Is it the central terminal? Did I see that right?
That's correct.
It's the old, is it a rail terminal?
Yes.
Okay.
New York Central was a train company, and this was their terminal. If you go around the back and to the right, you can actually see the train tracks.
Really?
And the old platforms are there. They're kind of...
Oh, very cool.
But you're welcome to do that. Just don't cross any fences or try and go in the building or anything.
Yeah. All right, so this was an unexpected find. And man, is it cool. The New York Central Railroad Company. Wow. One of the things that I have figured out that I really, really enjoy about Buffalo is this insanely cool architecture of all these giant old buildings. To me, this looks Art Deco-y. So I'll either have to confirm after the fact, or someone in the comments can let me know if that's the case. Oh, look, you can see the old rail lines going through there, and it stretches all the way to the other side. And what an amazingly cool old building. The old clock is stuck at 9:30. Can't tell which hand is which. It's either 9:30 or 5:45. Not that that matters, but yeah, so this is the section I was talking about over here. Stretches out almost like an old school or factory or something. Here we go. 2018 World Monuments Watch Site. Selected by World Monuments Fund as one of the 25 sites worldwide that face daunting threats or present unique conservation opportunities. Buffalo Construction Consultants. No trespassing construction area. Does that mean that they're working on this? I don't know. Maybe I can grab that guy's ear before I leave. But how insanely cool is this? Oh, I guess that's probably him parked down there. So I noticed there's a sign on the front that sort of half implies construction.
Yes.
Is there like a revitalization thing happening? Are they trying? It doesn't look like there
is work going on.
Is it?
They've got some money from the state. There's a lot of engineering work going on right now.
Okay, gotcha. The sign isn't super clear. You can't tell if it says like, this is really cool, or this is really cool and we're trying to fix it up.
Yeah, but it's not in the stage where you're going to see a bunch of people running around and there's a big plan with, you know, they have drawings and all that. We have the engineering firm that actually did the one in Detroit.
Oh, that new one that Roosevelt Park that's right out in front of it, and like the new, yeah.
Right, the Ford Motor Company kind of underwrit that.
Yep.
We don't have Ford Motor Company to back us on this, so it's a lot slower process.
Yeah, I guess Detroit has that, right?
Therein lies part of the problem.
Yep.
But what they said so far is that this is in much better shape than that one was.
And they've done an amazing job with that building.
Right. You know, there was actually a hallway or a bridge that went from the building over to the platform, but they had to cut that out because the trains going through there were higher now than they used to be, and so they could have either dug it down,
right,
or cut that out.
Yeah.
And it was easier for them to cut it out since no one was using it.
I mean, that makes sense. So
1929, this was built. It was in operation from 1929 to 1979.
So that was right around the same time that the new city hall downtown was built too. Right. It seems like Buffalo
right before the Depression.
Exactly what I was going to say. It seemed like Buffalo had a lot of that going on right before that hit.
You can actually walk down along the side.
Oh, very cool.
And then the platforms are right behind there.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me bug you for a few minutes. All right, so let's take a quick look down here. Could this have possibly been some sort of waiting area, staging area for passengers? Maybe that used to be a door that could go through. What he was talking about though is, I don't know if he said the same company or a similar company that redid the central terminal in Detroit is looking to do something similar with this. So if you can see, probably not, but straight through there is where that gate was that we saw that's open. So if I understood correctly, he was saying this used to be connected, which obviously would make sense. What an amazingly cool find. Can you imagine saying all the way back to the 30s. You had people in the 1930s just standing around waiting for trains here. And now nearly 100 years later, it's just sitting here. It's a giant memory reminder. I don't know what you want to call it. All right, so I'm gonna go back up to the car, and we're going to continue on to the area that I was planning on going to next. So I will see you over there in a minute. So in the shadow of the Key Bank Arena where the Buffalo Sabres play, which is just a few blocks down that way, as well as a new Seneca casino. We are at our final location for today, which is the abandoned Perry Projects. This is a set of, I believe, 284 apartments, housing units that are 100% abandoned. And this is several square blocks, and we'll go out to more of the main street here, several square blocks of just abandoned after abandoned, boarded up place. I don't know if you can hear it, but Interstate 190 is right there as well. I'm sure you can probably see the cars coming by. But this is Perry Street. And there is a stretch from that stoplight there, if you can see it, down to at least that stoplight, if not possibly a couple blocks further. You've just got building after building after building of abandoned, boarded up housing. So at one point, this was an active community, but over time, as people started moving out and buildings started decaying, one by one, buildings started becoming abandoned until eventually, hopefully I have my history correct here, I believe the city essentially just took over the whole thing and shut all of it down. Row after row of this. I mean, you can imagine people back in the day when this was an active community, people sitting out here. I mean, the trees are nice enough if you sort of picture this as just being sort of kept up a little bit and updated. This would be a nice little area back here. What's different about this is that it's not totally, despite it being entirely abandoned, it's not vandalized yet. It's not broken into. All the boarded up windows are actually, they're still boarded up. So I'm not going to pretend to understand the life cycle of abandoned buildings and how and when, and the causation for the transition from just boarded up like this to boarded up and vandalized, but apparently this is not to that point. I mean, like I keep talking about, or I've mentioned a little bit before with Baltimore, go to this next block here. I mean, literally at this cross street, you've got average houses, just people living their life. Same way right here with this street here, just right up against this. Oh, that's interesting. So it looks like the lock, oh no, that's been, wow, can't say I've seen that before. It's just been entirely filled in with dirt. The same way with that. And so the reason I chose this place as our final stop is because recently the city of Buffalo has actually approved the redevelopment of this entire area around here. So their plans, as of recently I saw, are to demolish this entire section of housing here, just flatten all of it and essentially start over with a whole extensive plan for new housing. I believe you can look up the plans more online if you're so inclined, but they have a whole layout available that you can see for townhouses, apartments, and things like that. And so that's an example of how Buffalo is trying in certain areas and in certain ways, at least, to kind of jumpstart things again. You know, we've seen in lots of other places, areas like this will sit, and we've even seen it in Buffalo itself, given that Wonder Bread factory, for example, and a few of the other things that we've seen. Same way with that central terminal. At least in this area, for whatever reason, Buffalo is deciding to put effort into trying to revitalize it and trying to fix it, as opposed to just letting it sit here and decay for decades and decades and decades. So with these light posts here, could this have been an old parking lot? I mean, those look like parking lot lampposts. I mean, I guess people would have needed a place to stay, right? Or a place to park. Yeah, maybe. One of the things I noticed, so there's a Family Dollar here, and I believe this place, it's like an assisted senior living facility. So I don't know if it's actually a live-in place or it might just be the headquarters or the offices for assisted senior living, but it's something to that extent. But I mean, look at this, like all of this literally right up against it. You can see boarded up houses. Whoops, wow, my pointing is way off. Let's try this again. Boarded up housing straight through on the other side of the place, literally right up next to it. These ones have these cool little awnings. Well, there's a little bit of graffiti. Still, honestly, not much other. I guess this isn't fantastic. There's a mini mart and grill here that I believe is still active. You have offices here, what I'm assuming may have been the community center of some sort. I'm not totally sure, but yeah. It's this 1, 2, 3, 4, 4x2, 4x3 block area. And it's all empty. but not for long. So maybe if and when I'm back up in the area here again in another, call it, year or two, maybe I can swing by here and see what they've done. So anyway, I think we're going to call it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed exploring these different little aspects of Buffalo, New York. If you did, you know the drill. Like button, subscribe, comments, turn on the little notifications. Any interaction helps the channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on this little adventure, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.